Specialized introduction system. This is the Rifkin casting for the WCS EU qualifiers here on Basetradetv, and spawning in the lower left corner. I can't speak of the map. It's the pink Zerg player, JonnyREcco. You can find his Twitter at JonnyREcco. His opponents in the top right corner of the map, spawning blue, playing Zerg. It is MrSirRobin from the team FXO, and you can find him on FXO SirRobin. Guys, I do encourage you, not enough people do this. If you enjoy their game, if you love watching them play, send them some love on Twitter, even if it's something, a little tweet like, hey, you completely out-mutilisted the other guy, good job. I mean, players love that feedback. It's what drives them to succeed. Forget money, forget everything else. Deep down, everyone knows it's about the fans, and that's, I feel players don't get enough recognition. Like, casters don't give out their Twitters or information's a way to contact them enough, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So, my apologies if you guys don't like this, if it's foreign, if it's different, and you, whatever. Please, please, I encourage you to check out these players after the game. Now, of course, this is a best of 3, so you got several games to get to know these guys. And what I am truly curious about, and this is actually something very interesting to me that I've noticed through doing several replays. Mutalisk versus Mutalisk seems to be the build. I mean, it doesn't seem to be the build. It is the build for the time being. A lot of players are forced to go for it because of how volatile it is. One thing I've been trying to do on ladder, and granted, I'm just a mid-masters North American player, so forget me. One thing I've been trying to do on ladder when I random Zerg is not just the Mutalisk versus Mutalisk composition. You're going to have a lot of that, but the one thing I noticed, not only with pro players, but with myself as well, is you're going to have a lot more minerals than you will gas, and you can do one of two things with those minerals. One is get like a hell of a lot of Zerglings, and you win the ground fight, then you win the tanking fight, and it helps the Muta versus Muta fight. But the other thing alternatively as well is I've been enjoying getting some Banelings mixed in with a couple Zerglings. If they don't get sniped off, they do pretty well, but more importantly, I built a lot of Spore Crawlers and advanced my creep across the map. Now, this isn't a good strategy, by any means. Please, do not listen to me and be like, oh, hey, that sounds like a good build order, let's do that. But when it gets to that point where there's like 50 Mutalisks on the field, I think someone had told me the math once, like one Spore Crawler is worth like 3 or 6 Mutalisks, somewhere in that general region. So by having a couple extras with some queens and transfuses and what have you, it might just be enough to tip the scale of the battle. But I haven't seen any professional players try to do it, which to me says it's probably not economically the best idea. But I would love to eventually see that sort of become a thing where you're advancing your creep, and then in advancing your creep, you're also going to advance some buildings like the Spore Crawlers to help deal with those fights. But alternatively as well, I've seen a lot of these matchups still go back and revert to, rather, the sort of Roach, Hydra, and Fester builds, which to me, in Wings of Liberty, were a little bit boring. You're like, oh, you know, every player's doing this right now. Who the hell cares? But in Heart of the Swarm, it's the one build I think I miss the most because it's still pretty action-packed. The new Infestor Fungal Growth is a lot more of a skill shot. It's not like that instant snap your fingers, oh, I grabbed half your army, now you're going to die. But I feel it's got a larger skill cap as far as using Fungal Growth now, and that's why a lot of people are averting it. But I think it's got a way higher potential for payoff. I mean, I hate to make this reference cross-game and what have you, but you take a League of Legends skill shot, and like, if you've ever watched League of Legends, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the potential for skill cap. But if you don't have any idea, you're like, okay, you know what, this guy's talking about something other than StarCraft, I will stop right now. I just want to make that contrast because I play both games quite avidly. Now, Baneling Nest coming down from JonnyREcco, not only fairly early, but in a awkward spot, I have to say the least, is a lot of the times you see players put their Baneling Nest out here where the Spine Crawler is currently going down and create a bit of a wall between the ramp with an Evolution Chamber, Baneling Nest, and a Spine Crawler with the Queens hiding behind it. This really prevents any sort of Zergling aggression, yeah, like we have FXO SirRobin doing here. The other catch to this too is, if you guys have never checked him out, there's a player named Masson. He plays for Quantic, and if there's one stream I like to watch to learn about Zerg, that's one of them because he does some great commentary. And the one thing I learned was, like, you really don't want to go for a Spine and too many Queens, as it will delay your layer tech by quite a bit. And oh, I guess there's a bit of aggression going on there that I missed because I'm busy talking about a million other things. My bad. A couple Zerglings getting in there and picking up, not too much. One worker goes down. Probably forced to cancel on the building, looking at the resources lost for the time being, but yeah, this is what I was talking about. Sorry, again, getting caught up on this, not used to solo casting. The Evolution Chamber here. There's enough gap here where you can put 2 Queens or a Spine Crawler if you so choose. But we do see the layer a little bit delayed here from our blue our blue Zerg player, MrSirRobin. And this could get to be some trouble because by spending all this time getting his defenses up, you know, he's got the gases a little bit later. He could, I mean, this is gap, right? Like, you've got the small window of opportunity before a single Mutalisk is on the field, where you can still go in with like a Zergling Baneling all in, and perhaps win the game. And I'm thinking SirRobin wants to do that and I only say this because we have the Ground Carapace coming out next. But with how quick this lair is, we'll probably see a Spire come down shortly after. No! What? Hold the phone, folks. It's actually a Roach Warren. Are we going to see speed, I'm wondering? Because Roaches are still very viable in this matchup, but if MrSirRobin here goes for some sort of crazy Zergling all-in, especially with that +1 armor, JonnyREcco, I feel, is not going to have what it takes to deal with it. A couple Banelings coming out, sure, but again, that +1 armor means that Zerglings actually survive the Baneling hit, and taking 2 Banelings to kill a Zergling instead of 1 is huge. But with his 4 gases established and his own layer on the way, he's not too far behind. If JonnyREcco had just gone straight to Spire, who knows, this could have been a little bit different, I don't know, but Zerglings, might actually force a cancel. Does in fact force a cancel. I was afraid he was going to lose the base, quite frankly, but the Spinecaller and several Banelings should be able to deal with this quite aptly, actually. Taking out, not the best hits at all from those Banelings from JonnyREcco. But with the Spinecaller down and several Zerglings, plus a Baneling still standing, a better hit. But still, a lot of Zerglings remain. Hatchery not being cancelled this time. Does survive to live another day. But SirRobin and JonnyREcco both coming out with a lot of Zerglings. And more importantly, SirRobin is actually going to beat JonnyREcco to the Spire. Now, albeit only slightly, but JonnyREcco going for that 3rd base much earlier. I don't know, the economy, if he didn't have it cancelled, if the first Zergling attack didn't work out the way... SirRobin, very bold there from JonnyREcco taking on the Banelings like that. But with SirRobin establishing his 3rd base up sooner, he'll have the 5th and 6th gas, and more importantly, the economy for the Mutalisk much sooner. Baneling's kind of dealing with JonnyREcco's Zerglings, but JonnyREcco still with a ton at home. Not the best Baneling connects either coming out of MrSirRobin. But oh my god, JonnyREcco is so close to losing almost all of his Zerglings. Gonna find himself in a bit of trouble here at the main. Gonna lose his Queen if nothing else. Roach is popping out, but he will clean this up. But losing that Queen is really gonna hurt his production. Missing 2, I believe it's rounds of Injects, is gonna just absolutely demolish his larva count. But JonnyREcco's still not going for a Spire. But more importantly to me, I don't see him going for an Infestation Pit. There we go, Spire just now coming down. But he is quite behind on this. I mean, our blue Zerg player is going to have Mutalisks up by the time JonnyREcco starts making his. And these Zergling fights are never going to go in the way of JonnyREcco, as we have +1 melee weapons coming out as well. So, I mean, it's weird to think like normally any other situation the gas devoted to the tech would cost him in the end. But by having Mutalisks out sooner and in more numbers, he's actually going to be quite okay. Roaches as well, another big gas, I guess, I don't know what you would call it, investment. I call it investment, though, very shakily, because they're not going to do that good. Queen popping out. Might actually get focused down. No, he's just going to go straight for the Hatchery. And JonnyREcco doesn't quite have the DPS to deal with this. Baneling's going to try and connect, but the Hatchery going down is going to be big. No transfuse. The Hatchery does fall. And this is severely going to come into play here in just a second, guys. This isn't that big of a deal right freaking now. But what this means, and the reason I'm freaking out, is JonnyREcco's Spire still not up. His gas count, yeah, he's got a pretty big bank, but where are the minerals? They're devoted to trying to get this base back up. He can't make the Mutalisk he needs fast enough. Whereas our blue Zerg player, let's see how many, 7 already on the field, several more underway. And we all know this comes down to like the Mutalisk number battle more than anything else. Tech coming out of JonnyREcco before Mutalisks as well, and I can't stress how weird this is. I've seen JonnyREcco play better than this, but maybe it'll pay off with the Roaches and the Zergling aggression coming through the middle of the map. If he can cancel the 3rd base of SirRobin, he'll be in a much better position than he currently is, but the Mutalisks will deal with these Roaches. Picking off the Queen there, not a bad choice, kind of recognizing he doesn't have the DPS for the Hatchery, and wow, those Baneling hits. Workers actually being picked off at the meanwhile as well. Currently 60 to 56 workers, only getting about, well, quite frankly, 2, surprisingly. I don't know how the hell SirRobin held on through that. But yeah, recomposing themselves afterwards. JonnyREcco with some Mutalisks coming out. 8 on the field. Or sorry, 8 coming out, 6 on the field, 12 though, double the Mutalisks for his opponent, and JonnyREcco, without Infestors, without Spore Crawlers, and more importantly, without really any Queens. I hate to call it so early, but JonnyREcco's not looking like he's going to win this game. However, I've been wrong, and I've seen upsets before, and fingers crossed, that's what I'm hoping happens here today, folks, because this is not looking good for MrSirRobin. However, with that defender's advantage, he actually temporarily has the Mutalisk count pretty much equal numbers. Queen adding some DPS as well, gonna posture back and forth here. Neither player with Zerglings underneath to really tank for this, and I think MrSirRobin recognizes this, starts producing a lot of Zerglings. Now this is where it gets interesting, because you get the +1 weapons versus the +1 armor of JonnyREcco. SirRobin going to find himself dealing a lot more damage, but in the Mutalisk fights, they kind of cancel each other out, so a lot of it comes down to what happens underneath, and oh, Spore Crawler almost gets that Mutalisk. I think it's 4 hits to kill a Mutalisk. But the damage here, guys, this is going to be nuts when it does go down. I'm sitting here at a loss for words, not because I'm like trying to be a terrible caster, mind you. It's just these players playing very, very well. JonnyREcco, though, playing from behind, has already found himself catching up. 29 Mutalisks, somehow taking the lead at some point. I don't know where, when, or why that was possible. Both players also getting +1/+1. So, I mean, they'll be hitting each other with equal upgrades. They'll be hitting each other with, well, the main difference I feel being the Zergling force, but the Mutalisk count definitely in JonnyREcco's favor. Coming in again here to the main, gonna see what he can. He'll snipe off this queen, no question about it. No! Actually just barely keeps that queen alive. 5 health remaining! And the Spore Crawler is still standing as well. So, I mean, JonnyREcco gonna find himself with some weak Mutalisks in his opponent's army, but the ball has begun, guys. The death ball, leave the unit count so you can keep up with the 32 Mutalisks to 20, and I think JonnyREcco's got the numbers. Where are those Zerglings gonna try and get into the third, but the defense too good. JonnyREcco somehow reducing SirRobin's Mutalisk count to 9, and I don't know how that's possible, ladies and gentlemen, as JonnyREcco was so behind on his Spire, on his Mutalisk, on his gas count even. SirRobin, though, desperately throwing down some Spore Crawlers, going to do what he can to hold on to this. Macro Hatchery coming down as well, but it doesn't matter. JonnyREcco's just got that death ball of Mutalisks. He's even splitting his forces in 2 and still able to chase SirRobin back. Spore Crawler spawning, though, he does need to back off. Zergling's coming into this third base, and JonnyREcco does not have what it takes to defend this. He will absolutely lose this base as the Mutalisks are desperately trying to get back home, but focusing down the hatch might be the best choice SirRobin could do. If you're going to deal an economic blow, it's definitely picking up a hatchery like that. Now, granted, a lot of these Zerglings will be cleaned up by the Mutalisks. However, guys, there we go, Infestation Pit. If you're gonna get yourself back in the game, and this is a really big if, you're gonna need Infestors to do it, but I fear this might be too late. As, I mean, look at this, JonnyREcco just looking to come in and strike. There's a couple Spore Crawlers deterring him, but that will not stop him from coming in here and just annihilating what SirRobin has. And JonnyREcco, I don't know if he realizes he has pretty much 3 times the Mutalisks of his opponent. Zergling's coming into the third base, gonna gut this raw as the Mutalisks try to respond, but this is just what JonnyREcco wants, because now they're out of position and in a spot that he wants to engage at, but instead actually going to go for the Spore Crawlers instead, and look at that, almost one-shotting Spore Crawlers. How dirty is that? Queen will actually survive. What? That's 2 queens that should have died. The monarchy remains, but the Spore Crawlers unburrowing, repositioning themselves, trying to get in a better position, but not before SirRobin loses all of his workers, pretty much. But REcco playing magnificently right now, folks. Again, I can't believe that the Mutalisk count is still where it is, not losing more than a couple, despite the Spore Crawlers, despite the Mutalisks. I mean, they're all so low. That regen going to start kicking in sooner than later, but this third base is gutted. The natural base is gutted. There's almost no workers on the field for our Blue Zerg. 28 to 63 Harvesters. Forget the Mutalisk, guys. It's about the workers at this point. And, ooh, even sniping off that Evolution Chamber. That's just salt in the wound. Insult to injury and what have you. JonnyREcco taking another nice engage here. He doesn't give a flip about these Spore Crawlers, though. And rightly so, because he's just doing so much damage to SirRobin, and I think with the last Mutalisk falling, we're going to have to see a GG. Pathogen Glands coming on the way, but what is there even on the field at this point? Absolutely nothing, sadly. Rest in peace, SirRobin, as I give my throat a break, as you guys can just magnificently watch the massacre that is coming here from JonnyREcco. I mean, there it is. Very delayed GG, but GG nonetheless, coming out of SirRobin. Well played, MrSirRobin.